A 57-year-old mother hides a shocking secret, but when her daughter uncovers the truth, rage explodes in a single moment of unimaginable violence. 13 shots. 2 lives lost. What drove a daughter to commit the unthinkable? Watch as the dark secrets of a family spiral into a tragedy that shocked an entire town. Red Hollow, Ohio, sat between cornfields and a slow river, a town where days blended together and nothing ever seemed urgent. Mornings began with the same cars, the same coffee shop lights, and the same greetings exchanged without thought. People believed they understood one another, trusting routines more than questions. Linda Parker had lived there most of her life, quietly, predictably, leaving little trace beyond her small house and steady work history. When whispers spread that Linda, at 57, was pregnant, disbelief moved faster than sympathy. The news felt unnatural to many, yet curiosity quickly replaced kindness. Neighbors watched her walks, counted weeks, and measured changes with unspoken judgment. Linda kept her head down, offering no explanations, no smiles, and no defense. Her silence became the town's loudest conversation. Old stories resurfaced, half-remembered rumors stitched together into new theories. Some said miracles happened anywhere. Others sensed something rotten beneath the surprise. Emily Parker noticed the shift immediately. Streets once familiar felt narrow, eyes lingering longer than before. At home, the air grew heavy, filled with unanswered questions and careful movements. Linda avoided doctors' names, dates, and details, treating the pregnancy like a secret rather than a blessing. Each passing day tightened the mood, as if Red Hollow itself were holding its breath. What seemed like an unlikely announcement slowly became a warning sign. Beneath the town's calm surface, something fragile had been disturbed, and once disturbed, it could not return to rest. Small changes followed, subtle at first, then sharper. As schedules shifted, doors closed earlier, and trust thinned, signaling that the story unfolding in Red Hollow would not end gently or quietly, or without consequences for everyone involved there. Linda Parker lived cautiously, shaping routines to survive alone daily. Raising Emily alone, she avoided risk, noise, and unwanted attention. At 57, pregnancy felt dangerous, confusing, and deeply unwanted initially. Doctors warned her body was fragile, strained, and medically vulnerable. Linda listened silently, nodding, while fear settled heavier inside her. She scheduled appointments privately, never sharing names, dates, or results. Medical pamphlets disappeared, prescriptions hidden, calendars left deliberately blank often. Emily noticed everything, from unopened mail to whispered phone calls. Linda dismissed questions gently, changing subjects or leaving rooms abruptly. The pregnancy never felt celebrated, photographed, or prepared for openly. Instead, it appeared treated like evidence of something shameful existing. Linda stopped attending church, skipped neighbors, and avoided longtime friends. Her isolation worried Emily, recalling earlier years filled with fear. Those memories involved broken trust, silence, and secrets never explained. Linda carried guilt quietly, believing protection meant hiding truths forever. Pregnancy changed that, threatening to expose buried choices publicly soon. Each week intensified Linda's anxiety, sleep shortening, appetite fading, strength. She sensed consequences approaching, unavoidable, heavy, and close now always. Fear followed her everywhere, even inside her own quiet home. The baby felt less like hope, more like punishment waiting. Linda understood survival once again depended on silence and endurance. But silence had limits, and time was pressing dangerously forward. Emily watched her mother weaken, sensing something irreversible had begun. Trust eroded slowly, replaced by suspicion, dread, and unanswered questions. Emily Parker felt the change long before proof appeared. Her mother moved through rooms like a shadow, careful and distant. Ordinary routines felt staged, as if something waited behind them. Emily began noticing patterns she could not ignore. Phone calls ended quickly. Drawers stayed locked. Linda flinched at simple questions. The house felt smaller, tighter, filled with unspoken pressure. Emily tried to reason with herself, telling her age made pregnancy complicated. Yet fear kept returning without explanation. Memories from childhood surfaced, moments of confusion she once buried. She remembered nights of silence, sudden moves, and rules that never made sense. Those memories connected painfully to the present. Emily started searching for answers quietly. She checked calendars, bank statements, and medical bills. Each discovery created more concern instead of relief. Nothing added up cleanly. The secrecy felt intentional, protective, and desperate. Emily stopped sleeping well. Dreams replayed fragments of the past mixed with imagined futures. She feared what the pregnancy represented, not the baby itself. Her thoughts circled one question repeatedly, growing heavier each day. Who could be involved after all these years? The question felt dangerous, yet impossible to ignore. Emily's protectiveness shifted into suspicion. Love mixed with dread, creating constant inner conflict. She avoided friends, ashamed of thoughts she could not control. Every glance at her mother carried tension. Emily felt trapped between loyalty and truth. As Linda's body changed, Emily's certainty did too. Something hidden was moving closer to the surface. Emily sensed that once revealed, nothing in their lives would remain intact. The weight of waiting pressed harder, promising consequences, answers, and irreversible damage soon for both women and the quiet town around them without mercy ahead. Late one evening, Emily decided to clean the storage room Linda always avoided. Dust-covered boxes stacked tightly, untouched for years. While sorting papers, she found a sealed medical envelope hidden beneath old tax files. Inside were test results, appointment summaries, and a name written repeatedly. The name belonged to a man Emily recognized immediately. He was not a stranger, nor a recent acquaintance, but someone tied directly to her childhood. Her hands shook as she searched further. Old photographs slipped from a folder, showing familiar places from her past. Dates on the images aligned with memories she tried to forget. The realization struck hard and fast. The pregnancy was not an accident of late love. It was connected to a history filled with fear and silence. Emily felt her stomach tighten as understanding replaced confusion. Every secret suddenly made sense. The locked drawers, the skipped appointments, the withdrawn behavior. The truth felt heavy, toxic, and deeply personal. She understood why Linda had hidden everything. The discovery did not bring relief. It brought a sense of violation that reached back decades. Emily felt betrayed by the one person she trusted most. Her identity, memories, and sense of safety collapsed at once. The house felt unfamiliar, hostile, and unsafe. She returned everything carefully, leaving no trace. Yet nothing could be unseen. The knowledge burned in her thoughts, reshaping every memory. Emily realized the pregnancy was not just dangerous. It was proof that the past had never ended. It had only been waiting. This discovery marked the moment her fear transformed into something far darker and uncontrollable inside her. That night sealed a path toward tragedy that neither could escape anymore together. After the discovery, Emily's thoughts fractured into restless loops. She replayed childhood memories with new meaning, questioning moments once dismissed as confusion. Ordinary sounds startled her. Sleep disappeared, replaced by long nights pacing hallways and staring at walls. She felt contaminated by knowledge she never asked for. Shame settled beside anger, each feeding the other without relief. Emily tried focusing on work and errands, but concentration slipped away. Faces blurred, time stretched, and days lost shape. She avoided mirrors, afraid of seeing someone she no longer recognized. The house amplified her distress, every room echoing reminders of what she learned. She organized obsessively, then abandoned tasks midway, overwhelmed by racing thoughts. Food tasted wrong. Her body felt tense and hollow at the same time. Emily believed the pregnancy threatened to erase boundaries that once protected her. The idea felt unbearable. She feared exposure, judgment, and the collapse of everything familiar. Loyalty to her mother clashed violently with self-preservation. Each option seemed destructive. She searched for guidance in articles and reports, but words offered no comfort. Instead, they sharpened her panic. Emily began isolating completely, cutting off routines that grounded her. The secret demanded action, yet no action felt safe. As Linda's due date drew closer, urgency twisted Emily's reasoning. She convinced herself that allowing events to continue would cause greater harm. Her thinking narrowed, focusing on stopping the future rather than surviving the present. Rational thought weakened under pressure. By the end of the week, Emily no longer trusted her judgment, only the intensity of her fear, which drowned out caution and mercy. This internal collapse set the stage for irreversible decisions that would soon devastate lives forever nearby. The afternoon unfolded quietly, almost ordinary, which made the collapse feel sudden. Emily moved through the house with rigid purpose, her thoughts narrowed and relentless. Outside, Red Hollow continued its routine, unaware of the storm forming inside the small home. The weight of days without sleep pressed on her body. Fear blended with certainty, creating a dangerous calm. She believed stopping the future was the only remaining option. The idea hardened, blocking hesitation. When the moment arrived, it happened without warning or restraint. 13 gunshots shattered the stillness, each one driven by panic rather than planning. The violence was fast, chaotic, and irreversible. Linda's life ended on the living room floor, along with the unborn child she carried. The house absorbed the sound, leaving only a ringing silence behind. Emily stood frozen, the reality of what she had done crashing in waves. The calm vanished, replaced by shock and emptiness. She did not run. She did not hide evidence. She remained inside, surrounded by consequences. Minutes passed without movement as her mind struggled to catch up. The decision she believed would bring relief delivered only devastation. When neighbors later noticed the disturbance, help arrived too late. The scene revealed overwhelming emotional force rather than calculated intent. 13 shots told a story of loss of control, not strategy. In one afternoon, 2 lives ended and a family history closed violently. Red Hollow's sense of safety collapsed alongside the truth. The moment became the town's darkest memory, marking a point beyond repair for everyone involved forever. Nothing afterward could undo the act, and the silence that followed confirmed a tragedy shaped by fear, secrecy, and irreversible choices made under unbearable emotional pressure. Police arrived within minutes, sirens breaking the stunned quiet of Red Hollow. Officers secured the house, immediately sensing the scene was driven by extreme emotion. There were no signs of forced entry, theft, or outside involvement. Emily Parker was found inside, silent, shaken, and unresistant. She made no attempt to flee, appearing detached from what surrounded her. Investigators documented the 13 gunshot wounds, noting their chaotic pattern. The layout suggested movement, panic, and loss of control rather than planning. Evidence collection continued methodically as neighbors gathered outside in disbelief. Sheriff Mark Reynolds took charge, coordinating forensic teams and detectives. His experience told him this case carried deep psychological roots. Background checks quickly revealed Linda Parker's late pregnancy and isolated lifestyle. Records showed years of limited contact with extended family or community. Detectives began reconstructing timelines, medical visits, and personal history. Emily remained under observation, emotionally flat and physically exhausted. Paramedics confirmed there was no chance of saving either victim. News spread rapidly, transforming Red Hollow from quiet town to crime scene. Reporters arrived as investigators worked, careful to protect evidence. The house became a sealed reminder of secrets reaching violent ends. Authorities prepared formal charges as the case moved forward relentlessly. Mental health specialists were consulted to assess Emily's condition. Early evaluations suggested extreme trauma combined with acute psychological collapse. The investigation shifted focus from motive to understanding long-buried damage. Each report painted a picture of pressure building over decades. Red Hollow watched closely, realizing the truth was far more disturbing. The case promised revelations that would haunt the town for years. Nothing about the investigation suggested a simple explanation or easy closure. Tragedy permanently altered their shared reality. As investigators dug deeper, a long-buried history began to surface. Old reports, sealed records, and overlooked warnings painted a disturbing picture. Linda Parker's past revealed years marked by instability, fear, and silence. Authorities uncovered prior relocations, unexplained absences, and sudden changes that once raised quiet concern. Each move appeared tied to events never formally recorded. Emily's childhood records showed emotional distress that was never fully addressed. School counselors had noted anxiety and withdrawal, but follow-up stopped abruptly. Medical files revealed gaps where documentation should have existed. Friends from earlier years described Linda as protective to the point of isolation. The pregnancy reopened paths that had been deliberately closed. Investigators realized the truth was not recent, but repeating. Patterns suggested unresolved harm passed forward through time. Linda's decision to hide the pregnancy now seemed driven by terror rather than shame alone. She feared exposure of choices rooted in survival, not intention. Experts concluded the family lived under the weight of unresolved trauma for decades. The home became a place of containment rather than safety. Emily's psychological history revealed signs of long-term stress compounded by shock. The discovery she made acted as a trigger rather than a cause. Authorities documented how secrecy had allowed pain to grow unchecked. Each hidden detail contributed to the eventual collapse. The case shifted from a single crime to a generational failure of protection. Red Hollow confronted the reality that silence had protected no one. The past, ignored and unspoken, had finally forced itself into the present with devastating consequences that could no longer be denied or undone. Community trust eroded as residents questioned how warning signs were missed for so long by everyone. The trial of Emily Parker gripped Red Hollow in a way no one had anticipated. Courtrooms filled with reporters, neighbors, and distant relatives eager to understand what had driven a daughter to commit such a horrific act. Expert witnesses detailed psychological evaluations, explaining how years of trauma, secrecy, and fear had eroded Emily's ability to make rational decisions. Testimonies highlighted the compounding stress of discovering her mother's pregnancy and the shocking identity of the father. Psychologists described a mental collapse where loyalty, anger, and confusion collided, leaving Emily unable to process reality. The jury listened closely as detectives recounted the crime scene, emphasizing the rapid succession of the 13 shots and the emotional chaos they represented. Evidence of Linda Parker's past, long hidden from the public, was revealed in court, illustrating a life constrained by fear and silence. Emily sat quietly, her expression distant, revealing little emotion as her entire world was dissected publicly. Neighbors and townspeople struggled to reconcile the image of a familiar family with the horror they had caused. Lawyers argued over intent, responsibility, and the psychological factors that led to the tragedy, each point weighed against the devastating reality of 2 lives lost. Media coverage painted the case as both a personal disaster and a community failure, questioning how years of warning signs went unnoticed. Emily's history of isolation, anxiety, and obsessive concern over her mother's actions became central to understanding motive, though it offered little comfort to those grieving. By the trial's end, the complexity of human emotion, trauma, and secrecy became painfully clear. Red Hollow realized that even in small towns, hidden truths could build pressure until they exploded, leaving irreversible consequences in their wake. The courtroom became a mirror reflecting a family's collapse under weight long ignored. After the trial, Red Hollow struggled to return to normal, though nothing could erase the memory of that day. Emily Parker was sentenced, and the legal system delivered its judgment, yet the town felt no closure. Linda Parker's absence left a void that could not be filled. Neighbors walked past the Parker house with unease, remembering quiet days suddenly shattered. Conversations at local cafes and markets circled around unanswered questions, old suspicions, and the weight of family secrets revealed too late. Community members reflected on how little they truly knew about those closest to them. Experts warned that untreated trauma and long-hidden abuse could fester silently, often emerging in catastrophic ways. Red Hollow became a case study in the dangers of secrecy and denial. Families began checking in on one another more deliberately, aware that appearances often masked hidden suffering. For Emily, the sentence marked the beginning of confinement, but her inner turmoil would last much longer. Psychologists continued to monitor her, detailing how generational trauma and emotional collapse contributed to the tragedy. Residents struggled with empathy and horror simultaneously, recognizing that mental breakdowns could lead to unimaginable consequences. Memorials for Linda and the unborn child were quiet, personal gestures, reflecting grief both private and public. Over time, The Parker story became a warning woven into Red Hollow's identity. Parents whispered to children about honesty, therapy, and confronting fear before it became destructive. Community leaders emphasized mental health resources, hoping others could avoid similar fates. Yet, the shadow of the crime lingered, a permanent reminder that silence can be deadly and that buried truths rarely stay hidden forever. Red Hollow learned that tragedy often begins quietly, grows unnoticed, and explodes violently, leaving lives, families, and a town forever changed.